Ice cream, of course, is a summertime staple, but there is, as you might have heard here, a big recall involving popular brands and flavors you might have in your freezer right now. Our Nydia Han has what you need to know today.
Ice cream feels safe, doesn't it? A scoop of joy, wrapped in nostalgia. But behind those smiling lids lurk bacteria, recalls, mislabeled allergens, even stray shards of metal. For seniors, it's not just gross, it's dangerous. Heart meds, kidney strain, even listeria infections can turn dessert into disaster. Today, we're counting down 5 ice cream brands you need to avoid, and ending with 2 that are actually safe. And we'll start with the one that's been haunting headlines for years, Bluebell. Starting the countdown with number 5, Bluebell, the so-called down-home favorite with a deadly history. They sell the story of homemade taste and family tradition, the kind of brand that drips with nostalgia, smiling cows, and porch swing comfort. But behind that soft image lies one of the ugliest safety records in the freezer aisle. Let's go back. In 2015, Bluebell was at the center of a listeria outbreak that left 3 people dead. Not stomach aches, not a minor bug. Actual deaths tied to bacteria hiding in what should have been a sweet scoop of comfort. The CDC linked it directly. Hospitals pulled it from shelves. Schools had to stop serving it. Yet, Bluebell survived. Fast forward to 2025 and they're back in the headlines, this time for allergen mislabeling. A nut-laced ice cream packed into a container with no nut warning. Think about that. A spoonful sold as safe for kids with allergies could cause seizures, swelling, even respiratory collapse. For seniors on blood pressure or heart meds, that reaction can be fatal. One spoonful that could stop breathing. And here's the kicker. Recalls in America are mostly voluntary. That means a brand like Bluebell gets to decide how loud the warning is. No breaking news. No sirens at checkout. Just a PDF buried on the FDA site, quietly uploaded where almost no one looks. Would you risk your child's health on a misprint? This isn't about one bad batch, it's a pattern. Bluebell has been flagged multiple times, yet the cartons still land in school cafeterias, nursing homes, and hospital freezers. The very places that house people most vulnerable to listeria: seniors, pregnant women, patients with weak immune systems. Listeria isn't like a stomach bug. It can cause paralysis, miscarriage, and death. A whistleblower once described the plants as old equipment held together with duct tape. Reports claimed machinery wasn't cleaned properly, creating the perfect breeding ground for bacteria you can't see, smell, or taste. So while the packaging screams farm fresh, what's inside can be as dangerous as spoiled meat. Let's get personal here. Seniors with kidney issues already process sodium and toxins slower. Add in listeria or hidden nuts, and their bodies can't fight back. It's not just dessert anymore. It's Russian roulette in a carton. And yet, the branding stays soft and friendly. Ads show smiling kids, country music, and simple joys. That's the betrayal. They sell comfort but deliver chaos. So, what's the fix? Don't keep gambling with repeat offenders. Instead of mass-produced nostalgia brands with long recall histories, look for smaller regional dairies that publish sourcing info and test results. Many local creameries list exactly where their milk comes from and when it was processed. That's transparency. Bluebell doesn't give you. The FDA estimates that foodborne illness strikes 1 in 6 Americans every year. That's about 48 million people. And Bluebell's repeated failures feed right into that number. So ask yourself this: do you really want your freezer stocked with a brand that's been tied to death, lawsuits, and allergen scandals? Or would you rather pay a couple of dollars more for peace of mind? Because here's the truth. A scoop of Bluebell isn't just dessert, it's a gamble your family can't afford. And if you thought Bluebell was reckless, the next brand shows how even a friendly label can betray you. Want to stay ahead of food dangers and hidden risks? Hit that subscribe now. Sliding in number 4, Friendly's. The brand that smiles on the outside but mislabels on the inside. On the surface, Friendly's feels safe. Pastel packaging, old-school fonts, affordable scoops that remind you of summer afternoons, and neon diners. But that friendly look hides something much darker. Here's the shocker. In 2025, cartons labeled Vanilla Bean were actually filled with cookies and cream. Sounds harmless until you realize the vanilla labels didn't list soy or wheat, 2 of the most common allergens in America, gone from the label. A carton that looked innocent was basically a landmine for anyone with allergies. Would you trust a label if it lied once? Think about it. A parent reads vanilla and feels safe. A child takes 1 spoonful and suddenly they're in an ambulance fighting to breathe. Allergies aren't a rash. They can mean seizures, swelling, respiratory collapse, and yes, death. The FDA says food allergens send about 200,000 people to the ER every year. And yet, This brand, with its smiling name, let mislabeled cartons slip straight into the freezer aisle. Friendly's didn't even distribute this mess directly. It flowed through UNFI, one of the biggest food distributors in the US. That means it wasn't just one corner store or small region. It spread across multiple states, sliding into supermarkets, school freezers, and even hospitals. When a mistake passes through a supply chain that massive, the odds of catching it drop to near zero. And the response? Barely a whisper. A quiet recall notice, some product pulled, business as usual, no national alert, no loud admission, no serious accountability, just a PDF and a promise it won't happen again. But here's where it gets personal. Seniors relying on low-sugar or simple labeled products are especially vulnerable. A missing allergen line can mean a catastrophic reaction, especially for those on blood pressure meds or with weaker immune systems. Their bodies can't fight back like a healthy teenager's can. What's just a mistake to Friendly's could be a death sentence in a nursing home cafeteria. And while the brand keeps leaning on its nostalgic charm, the truth is simple: the packaging lies. The smiley logo means nothing if the ingredient list can't be trusted. Labels are supposed to be protection. Friendly's turned them into decoration. One ex-employee even joked online that quality control is just a sticker gun. Staff forums describe rushed packaging lines where cartons are swapped mid-shift to keep quotas moving. Accuracy gets traded for speed. And that's how a soy-filled batch ends up wearing a vanilla label like a cheap disguise. Now ask yourself, if a company can't guarantee something as basic as label honesty, what else are they skipping? Equipment checks? Ingredient sourcing? Sanitation? If you or your family has food allergies, skip the mass-market nostalgia brands. Look for ice cream certified by third-party allergen testing programs. Several smaller companies publish allergen audits online, so you know exactly what's inside. It may cost $1 more, but it's a lot cheaper than an ER bill. Here's the scary part. This isn't just Friendly's problem. It's a symptom of a food system that lets giant distributors spread small errors into national threats. And the ones who suffer most? Seniors, kids, patients, the people least able to afford a mislabeled bite. We're only halfway down this list, and it's already nasty. Which brand shocked you most so far? Drop your pick in the comments. I'm curious who you'll call out. Next up, number 3, Rich's Ice Cream. The brand you've eaten without ever choosing it. That's the scary part. You never pick it. You don't see it in ads. You don't look for it in the freezer aisle. Yet it ends up on cafeteria trays in schools, in hospital dessert cups, even in nursing homes. It slides into your life through contracts, not choice. The ice cream you never picked could be the one that makes you sick. In 2025, Rich's recalled more than 100,000 single-serve cups after a listeria scare. These weren't luxury pints tucked away in boutique shops. They were cheap, mass-packed plastic cups with a tiny spoon taped on top, served by the thousands in institutions that should be protecting the most vulnerable. Kids, patients, seniors. Listeria isn't something you can smell or taste. It's invisible, and when it hits, it can kill. For the elderly, pregnant women, and anyone with weakened immune systems, a spoonful can mean paralysis, sepsis, or even death. The CDC estimates 1,600 cases of listeria infection in the US every year, with about 260 ending in death. And yes, Rich's added to those numbers. Most families didn't even know they were eating recalled ice cream. Why? Because Rich's isn't a brand you shop for. It hides behind food service supply chains. Parents don't buy it, but it ends up in their kids' school lunches. Seniors don't request it, but it's handed out in nursing homes. And when it gets recalled, there's no loud announcement, no flashing alerts, just paperwork shuffling through state agencies while the same products keep circulating. Plastic cup, plastic spoon, and a bacteria you'll never see until it's too late. Whistleblowers have described these facilities as running like factories. Cheap ingredients, tight deadlines, sanitation that's more check the box than clean the line. Some staff forums even joked about ice cream made on conveyor belts that haven't been washed since last summer. Funny online, but not so funny when listeria rides those belts into patient meals. Think about it. When you're in a hospital bed recovering from surgery, your immune system weak, the last thing you should have to worry about is dessert. Yet that's exactly where contamination hit. And the most chilling part? Rich's never faced a shutdown. No federal freeze, no sweeping investigation, just a recall notice, some cartons trashed, and business as usual. Would you still eat ice cream if you didn't even know who made it? For seniors, the risk is even higher. Listeria can cross the blood-brain barrier, leading to meningitis. Combine that with common meds for blood pressure or kidney disease, and recovery isn't just tough, it's nearly impossible. That's why brands like this, hiding in plain sight, are the most dangerous. You don't know to avoid them, and yet they're on your tray. If you're a parent, patient advocate, or caregiver, demand transparency. Schools and hospitals should be sourcing from dairies with published inspection reports, not invisible suppliers. Smaller regional brands often provide clearer sourcing and are held accountable locally. And here's the bitter truth. Riches thrives on invisibility. No marketing campaigns, no flashy branding, just quiet contracts that trade safety for savings. And because they're invisible, they're untouchable. That's why they're still here, serving dessert, even after contamination. So next time you see a neat little cup of ice cream with a peel-back lid, ask yourself, is it sweetness or is it risk wrapped in plastic? From invisible cups to supermarket giants, the next name has been hiding fillers in plain sight. Now, climbing higher at worst number 2, Breyers, the so-called natural choice that quietly stopped being ice cream. That's right, Breyers built its reputation on short ingredient lists and soft vanilla nostalgia. But look closely at the fine print today and you'll see a legal dodge. Frozen dairy dessert. Translation? Not enough cream to even qualify as ice cream under US law. Premium carton, bargain bin contents. For decades, Breyers pitched itself as the clean option, just milk, cream, sugar, and natural flavor. Families trusted it. Seniors especially reached for it because the branding whispered simple and safe, but simplicity ended when corporate profits took over. Now, many cartons are stuffed with stabilizers, gums, and emulsifiers that stretch shelf life while killing quality. That scoop that used to melt into silky cream, today it collapses into gummy slop that clings to your spoon like glue. In 2025, Breyers recalled 6,668 cases after allergen mislabeling. Cartons labeled safe for nut-sensitive customers actually contained nut ingredients. No bold warning, no big recall notice in your local news. Just another quiet PDF uploaded to the FDA website. Would you risk a loved one's life on a carton that can't get its label straight? Food allergies aren't a small inconvenience. One spoonful with hidden nuts can send a child or senior into anaphylaxis. Seizures, respiratory collapse, even death, and yet the recall barely made headlines. Meanwhile, Breyers continues to present itself as a wholesome freezer staple. Owned by Unilever, one of the biggest food conglomerates in the world, Breyers isn't a family brand anymore. It's a profit machine. And when margins tighten, formulas change, quality shrinks, ingredients get cheaper. Regulators in the US allow this kind of slow downgrade, while in Europe many of these additives are restricted or outright banned. Ever wonder why the same natural vanilla carton tastes richer overseas? It's not nostalgia, it's regulation. A scoop that melts into gummy slop, not cream. Reports from consumer forums say Breyers' texture now resembles cold, cool whip more than ice cream. One whistleblower from a plant described batches bulked up with air, literally pumped until half the container is foam. That's why a pint disappears faster, not because you're eating more, but because you're eating less substance. Think about what that means for seniors on heart or kidney medication. They buy Breyers thinking it's gentle, clean, maybe even doctor-approved. Instead, they're swallowing additives that strain digestion, with sugar levels that can spike blood pressure in 3 bites. More sugar than a glazed donut. More sodium than a small bag of chips. That's dessert disguised as health food. And while the brand leans on its black and white packaging to scream purity, the inside tells another story. Carrageenan thickeners, mono and diglycerides, corn syrup solids, vegetable gums. Long names that don't belong in something marketed as natural. Would you still call it ice cream if the law says it isn't? Here's the fix. If you want real cream and real vanilla, don't trust frozen dairy desserts hiding behind legacy names. Look for USDA certified organic ice creams that list milk and cream as the first 2 ingredients. You'll pay a bit more, but at least you're getting actual ice cream, not an engineered dessert wearing grandpa's packaging. So next time you're in the freezer aisle and see Breyers' familiar carton, is it nostalgia or is it filler with a fancy label? And if Breyers left a bad taste, wait until you hear about the chain that scooped salmonella. Finally, the number 1, Cold Stone Creamery, the chain that mixed more than toppings into its ice cream. On the surface, it's a sugar dream. Bright counters, smiling staff, and the sound of metal spatulas smashing candy bars into creamy scoops. Cold Stone sells the experience. Ice cream made theatrical. But behind that marble slab, the story isn't so sweet. Sweet shop, sour outcome. Cold Stone once promoted its cake batter ice cream as a fan favorite. But in the mid-2000s, it was linked to a multi-state salmonella outbreak. People across several states got sick. Some ended up in hospitals. And while years have passed, the silence around it should make you uneasy. Corporate PR buried the story under sprinkles and birthday balloons. You won't see signs in the store warning about that chapter. Here's the real kicker. Salmonella doesn't need to show itself. No smell, no color change. Just one cheerful scoop carrying bacteria that can knock you flat. Seniors are hit the hardest: dehydration, kidney strain, and even hospitalization. For someone already juggling heart meds or blood pressure pills, one contaminated cone isn't just food poisoning. It's a serious risk. The outbreak wasn't loudly broadcast. The FDA posted findings, but Cold Stone kept churning out smiles. Ask most people today and they'll say, "What salmonella case?" That's how carefully it was managed. It's not about transparency. It's about keeping the image intact. Would you still lick that spoon if you knew it came with an ER bill? Former employees on staff forums have admitted that mix-ins sometimes fall onto unsanitized counters, then get scooped back in. Think about that. Gummy bears, half-melted chocolate, even cake scraps collecting bacteria on a slab that's wiped with the same rag all day. And then you watch it folded back into your cone like nothing's wrong. A cheerful scoop hiding bacteria that sends you to the ER. Now, some viewers might say, that was years ago, does it still matter? Yes, it does, because it shows how fragile safety is when the image comes first. Salmonella doesn't care if you're in a fun chain. It just needs one crack in the system. And when a brand hides past outbreaks, how do you know they're being honest about current ones? Statistics don't lie. The CDC estimates 1.35 million salmonella infections every year in the US. About 26,500 end up in the hospital. Seniors make up a large share of those hospitalizations because their immune systems aren't as strong. For a 70-year-old with diabetes or kidney issues, a Cold Stone scoop can mean weeks of recovery, not just a rough night. And while Cold Stone keeps pumping out quirky names like Birthday Cake Remix, the risk remains the same. Flashy names, bright stores, behind it, corporate silence and a history they'd rather bury. So what's the fix? Skip the gimmick chains. If you want cake batter flavor, look for small batch brands using pasteurized ingredients. They tend to publish inspection records and keep formulas simple. It's not about skipping dessert, it's about knowing who's honest about what goes into it. Would you risk your health for sprinkles on a slab? Drop your answer in the comments. Have you ever gotten sick from a chain that swore it was safe? Cold Stone proves you can't judge safety by the size of the smile. Behind the glass, it might not just be candy that gets mixed in. Sometimes it's bacteria. That's the end of the 5 disasters. But don't worry, there are at least 2 brands you can trust. Now rising back up to safe pick 1, Tillamook. Proof that honesty can still fit in a tub. This isn't your average supermarket brand. Tillamook is owned by a farmer cooperative in Oregon, not some faceless multinational giant. That means the people making the decisions are the same ones milking the cows, and it shows in the ingredients. Real cream, real sugar, no high fructose corn syrup, no bizarre fillers with names you need a chemistry degree to pronounce. A scoop that's actually safe. While brands like Breyers sneakily reclassified products as frozen dairy dessert, Tillamook stayed loyal to actual ice cream. You open the tub and it feels heavier, thicker, more real. You can see the difference when you scoop. Instead of watery slop that melts into a puddle, it holds its form, creamy and dense. That's because it's packed with cream, not stabilizers. The FDA doesn't even force brands to call their products ice cream unless they meet a minimum 10% milk fat standard. Breyers dropped under that bar, so they quietly switched the label. Tillamook? It clears it easily, and that honesty matters, especially if you're a senior looking to avoid hidden chemicals that can mess with your blood pressure, kidneys, or digestion. Statistics tell the story. According to a Cornell University review, over 60% of frozen desserts in US supermarkets contain stabilizers or gums that weren't in recipes 50 years ago. Tillamook is one of the few national players that still resist that trend. Would you trust a natural brand that stopped being ice cream or the one that still is? Parents like it because kids get fewer additives. Seniors benefit because there's less strain from sodium-heavy fillers or artificial sweeteners. And honestly, it just tastes better. That first bite feels like the real thing, not something engineered to mimic dairy. Former employees at Tillamook plants have described the pride in using locally sourced cream from co-op farms. No shortcuts, no mystery powders. Contrast that with the horror stories from corporate chains where rehydrated milk powders and chemical stabilizers are the norm. Thick, real scoops versus watery filler slop. Now, let's talk health. Ice cream is still dessert, no one's saying it's a health food. But here's the difference. With Tillamook, you're getting fewer hidden surprises. No artificial growth hormones in the milk. No high fructose corn syrup that spikes blood sugar. For seniors already balancing diabetes or hypertension, that's a meaningful difference. A cleaner product means fewer interactions with meds, fewer nights regretting a treat. Want a practical fix? If you're standing in the frozen aisle, flip the carton. If the first ingredient isn't cream, put it back. If it lists a wall of stabilizers before you even see milk, skip it. Brands like Tillamook set the standard for what ice cream should look like. Would you pay $1 more for a carton that doesn't trick you with fillers? Drop your answer in the comments. Let's see how many people are done with fake ice cream. Tillamook proves that honesty isn't extinct in the freezer aisle. It's still possible to enjoy a scoop without wondering if it's secretly a chemistry project. And if you want another name worth trusting, there's one more brand that still wears its crown honestly. Finally, the safe pick 2, Strauss Family Creamery. Ice cream that wears its label with pride. This is not another corporate giant hiding fillers in fine print. Strauss is a certified organic creamery in California, built around pasture-raised cows and family farming. No hormones, no antibiotics, no mystery syrups or gums sneaking in behind the word vanilla. Just cream, sugar, and honest ingredients that sound like they belong in a kitchen, not a lab. Clean cream versus chemical steam. Where many brands push watery, frozen dairy dessert, Strauss goes the opposite way. They were the first certified organic creamery in the US, and they still lead with transparency. Walk into their production plant and you won't see vats of stabilizers or tanker trucks of corn syrup. You'll see stainless steel tanks filled with real cream from cows grazing on coastal pastures. But here's the real shocker. In Europe, many artificial additives used in US ice creams are outright banned. Strauss skips them voluntarily. They meet standards higher than what the FDA requires. That's a choice most corporate giants would never make. Now think about what that means for health. Seniors already fighting blood pressure spikes or kidney strain don't need hidden sodium or emulsifiers messing with meds. Strauss keeps sodium almost non-existent, which makes every scoop a safer indulgence for people managing heart disease or hypertension. Wouldn't you rather eat ice cream that doesn't double as a chemical experiment? Proof not every scoop is a lie. Customers describe Strauss as thicker, cleaner, with a flavor that doesn't coat your tongue in fake sweetness. It melts like cream, not like gummy syrup. Former food inspectors have even pointed to Strauss as a model for transparent labeling. Compare that to chains caught mislabeling allergens or pumping fillers, it's night and day. A USDA report once showed that over 70% of dairy products in US supermarkets use milk from cows treated with synthetic hormones. Strauss is in the 30% that reject them completely. That matters if you care what long-term exposure does to your body. Hormone-free means cleaner milk, safer cream, and fewer risks tied to cancer or metabolic issues. But here's another angle. Institutional buyers, schools, care homes, hospitals often go for the cheapest tubs. Strauss rarely ends up there because it's not bargain bin pricing. That's a good thing. Cheap, mass-distributed brands are the ones with the recalls, the hidden bacteria, and the voluntary quiet alerts buried in FDAPDFS. Strauss plays the long game. Safer milk, higher quality, fewer risks. So what's the fix? If you're stuck in a supermarket staring at a wall of tubs, simple. Flip the carton. If it says frozen dairy dessert, put it back. If it has gums, corn syrup, or sodium before cream, skip it. Look for organic seals, hormone-free labels, or better yet, names like Strauss. Would you pay a few extra dollars to keep chemical steam out of your freezer? Tell us below. Let's see who still believes real cream is worth it. Strauss proves that ice cream can be indulgent and honest at the same time. It doesn't take shortcuts, it doesn't hide behind corporate spin, and it doesn't play roulette with your health. So now you know which tubs belong in the trash and which ones deserve a place in your freezer. Thanks for watching. What's the worst ice cream brand you've ever bought? Drop it in the comments. Want to know which frozen meals are basically chemical labs in a box? Click it on the left. And don't forget to subscribe if you want the truth about what's really in your food.